What's up, guys? I know I've been teasing this for a while, and what I'm about to say is going to be a fully unscripted video, which is something I don't usually do. And what I'm about to say also is my opinion, so you may not agree with that, which is fine. And what I'm going to talk about is like the NASCAR Next Gen number replacement and how I feel about it, which is a bad idea in my opinion. I think it's just not a good look for them doing this. I understand why NASCAR is doing it to be able to get more sponsors, but it didn't stop M&M from leaving the sport. But I still think it's gonna work long term, and it's just a mess with tradition. I like tradition. I would prefer if the number was back in the middle the way it's always been, especially, and to have no playoffs or chase as well. Would be better that way too. But it is what it is, though. NASCAR decided to do it, and they don't think it's a problem.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
But to me, it is, especially seeing the number being put on the front wheel as well. I just think it's a bad spot, for them to put that, especially. It's on the left and right side, but it's by the front wheel. And I just think it's better if it has it in the middle because it's always been like that. And it just doesn't feel like it's the right move for NASCAR to do that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they fix something that wasn't broke. Even though NASCAR has done a lot of right things, though, especially going back to their roots and going to more road courses and short tracks also, especially getting away from those cookie cutter mile-and-a-half tracks that they've been doing for years, especially since they thought that was a good idea at the time, which isn't anymore. But especially it's just a bad move they're doing this, especially. It's just like I said, mess with tradition. And also there's been other stuff with the next gen car as well, especially with the controversies as well, especially with the injuries to Kurt Busch, which basically ended his season as well with a concussion and his full-time career basically. And Alex Bowman also getting injured with a concussion as well with the next gen car there too. But the number replacement itself is just not where it should be. It should be in the middle. And especially messing with tradition, like I said, and especially what's more worse is especially in my opinion, them during throwback weekend, especially putting the number in the left side of the front wheel, especially during that time when the number should be the way it was supposed to be at that time, especially paint schemes the 24 with William Byron with the Exalta being put the way it was it should have been put the way it was with Jeff Gordon when he drove it. The number wasn't at that part of the car then. And also, even though it's a nice paint scheme still, throwing it back with the flames. And also with Brad Keselowski throwing it back to Mark Martin with the Viagra paint scheme that Martin used to drive. And that number also on the front wheel as well. And even though it's still a nice paint scheme. And Chris Buescher throwing it back to Matt Kenseth as well, the DeWalt, driving the 17. And the number also being on the front wheel as well, even though that's still a nice paint scheme too. And with Ross Chastain with the 1, throwing it back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. when he drove the Coca-Cola car for the first time, racing against his father, Junior's father. And the number also, same thing, on the front wheel of the car. And I just don't like why they're doing that. It's just messing with something that ain't broke, don't fix it. And especially if you're going to throw it back to a paint scheme, it's not going to be exact with the number being on the front wheel. It's just not. It should be in the middle if you're going to throw it back to a paint scheme from that point, because that's how it was back then. And it just doesn't feel right, in my opinion, that they're doing this. They teased it as early as 2020 when they first tried it out in the All-Star race. Back then, I didn't make a big deal of it when it first appeared then, because I figured, it's just probably for one-off for the All-Star race, even though they did consider it later on, after that, and the neon on the cars were really bad. And this was when it was the Gen 6 car, but I didn't make a big deal of it because I didn't think much would come from it, even though NASCAR did consider it. But they did, though, when the next gen car, they revealed the paint scheme for Kurt Busch when he first joined 2311 Racing, and the outrage happened from that as well, from a lot of fans, because of the fact that the number was put by the front wheel instead of the middle, which has always been like that for a lot of years. And it was a lot of outrage as a result of that. And I was one of them not agree with them. And I agree with them. It just wasn't the right move for them to do that, fixing something that ain't broke. But and it looks like they're going to keep it permanent too, which is I don't like where they're doing this. They're doing so many right things, but the fact that one of these is wrong, it doesn't make any sense that they're moving it to the front wheel. It's just messing with tradition. It is something that ain't broke, don't fix it. And unfortunately, that's how it is. But I've come around to getting used to it, but doesn't mean I agree with the move. And I never will agree with the move. I've always saved pictures of the cars after the season if they're nice paint schemes. But I don't do that anymore, especially with the next gen car. The car itself is nice, especially seeing how much they look more closer to the street counterparts. But seeing the number the way it is on the front wheel is just wrong. And I don't like it, and I never will like it like that. And even though the sponsors that there's more space. The space is fine, but it just doesn't make sense that the number had to be moved like that. Like I said, that didn't stop M&M's from leaving NASCAR. and like they had like 1 year with the paint scheme, like with the number in the front wheel too, and they still left anyway. So that doesn't guarantee that sponsors are going to stick around, but it doesn't hurt either. Like that'll help sponsors come in later on, and as a result, but still, it's just wrong, and I never will agree with it, like I said, and it's just messing with tradition, and hopefully at some point they bring it back, but I don't know if they will though, especially if they say that they're going to keep it permanent, which I think is wrong in my opinion that they're doing that, because it's just like not the way NASCAR should be. The number should be like the way it is in the middle. Yeah, early on in the sport, they had like the number like on the left like for some years, but no, like most people are used to it being in the middle, just like tradition. And it just messed with tradition. Like it's just wrong. Like I said, it's just like, I mean, they're doing, like I said, they're doing so many things right, getting away from the cookie cutter 1.5-mile tracks, especially, and going to like short tracks, back to short tracks, going back to the roots, going to road courses as well, like getting away from those cookie cutter 1.5-mile tracks, especially going back to tracks like North Wilkesboro as well. And the thing is I'm glad that the Craftsman Truck Series and Xfinity Series did not do that as far as like putting the number on the front wheel. And I hope they never do that, because then I won't like that. But at some point, they probably will do that to all the series in NASCAR, which I hope they don't. Please leave the Xfinity Series and Craftsman Truck Series numbers alone, because I feel like that's just wrong that they're like, that they would mess with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they did that with the Cup Series. And if they're going to keep it permanent, it's just like bad look and everything like that for them to do that. So it's just like, leave it alone and don't move it like to like in those series. Also, the next gen cars made their debut in iRacing at the Chicago Street Course, which they'll be racing at for the first time in real life this year. Which is, guess what? The numbers were in the middle, which is what should have been the case in real life as well. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed though. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you are brand new, subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.